There was a boomer I was introduced to that was still working, working the hustle of being a part of public broadcasting. And he was dealing with the fact that it was fundamentally vanishing, that nobody needs public broadcasting anymore, really. Now you have the internet. And there was something that at one point that he had said, and this guy was definitely like a dipped out hippie. He was a hippie dip, one of these people you see just by the busloads up here, teeming. If people who don't like sharing, and then you have this way he goes, I don't really have a reason to, deal with people who aren't willing to share. And so it was something it just nailed me, because I was in the company of a libertarian at the time, hardcore staunch libertarian. We were discussing something about public broadcasting, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, no, you can just do this from your house. Like I just really was sitting back going, I just don't know how this would be doing this from home. Like I just wasn't seeing it. But it was good to know. It was good to kind of get an idea of like how one gets into public broadcasting, and like what the infrastructure of that, and like where do they do this? Oh, they do this at this office at this school. Oh, okay, and so now the thing that I've been thinking about, because that statement popped up in my mind as I was rolling around. The left now has really a true problem. These Easter shenanigans have really done it. And what is legitimately happening in law and social trends, there wouldn't be a reason that all of these people think they need to police chat rooms if there wasn't a reason they needed to police chat rooms. So you see, when they, what this means is that whatever things that people are talking about, where the boys are with video games, and that's now the premier, and pretty much like that's where the money is going from men of their teens through their 60s. They're putting their money into video games rather than movies or television or streaming or anything like that. That's like what they're doing. So that being the case, they have to try. These people are smelling the money. It's where the boys are. And so no longer is this, oh my gosh, looks like it's volleyball time. Thank God. And so the shenanigans from Easter have really kind of made this sort of, okay, it's reinforced something that we've seen over and over and over again, and that's being a supervillain. Being a supervillain rather than a hero. So it keeps becoming this thing of like, so I started to think of, this man wasn't interested in anybody who wouldn't share. He was from the baby boom generation. That was sort of the great heroism, supposedly, of these baby boomers who went into public service in one way or another. They started working for the government with the claim, boomers always claim this, they're not paid as much as they would in the private sector. And it turns out when you look into it, like the way that this has evolved, is that's absolutely untrue. That in many, many, many cases, people are actually making out much better, much, much better than they would. Because in the private sector, I got to see it. I got to see layoffs happen in the private sector about every 10 years of my life. Massive, massive amounts of layoffs. People might come back, they might not. And in fact, boomers have had to like go sort of from hustle to hustle to hustle. go from this field to then trying to make money this way, to go in this and go in this and go in this. I bet you could put in the comments talking about like boomers, that like went from, say, early era of some standard industry, just standard banking or something like that, when you had to have a bachelor's to be a teller, to eventually, where they're like trying to flip houses, they're trying to, whatever the thing of that era of time is, get their kids into college so their kids won't have to go through the same thing. That's the key thing. This isn't a bunch of people who are pipe fitters, a generation of strong pipe fitters hitting that pipe. No. Many boomers tried their hardest to not get their hands dirty. And we all have to admit that. So, you have now this generation that their idea is not only are they not going to get their hands dirty, you can clearly see there's, these are sometimes men in their prime years who are built almost like boys, and then women in their prime years that have fupas that you can't tell exactly what section of the body starts or ends where. You wouldn't be able to figure out where the torso is. You'd have to So this is not a generation that's going to be able to maintain a lot of this. This is something's very, very wrong, and we all know it. And what this now is coming to is, see, there's some kind of lie that people have to participate in. And it's this lie that, like, no, this type of setup of the liberal boomer dream world, that everybody will just be smart because they went to lots of school, and we'll be like Japan, and everybody will get thin and smart. Or, we'll be like whoever the smart people in the world are, doing smart things, because we don't need all this gas-powered this. You see, we could have electricity and it's blue, and blue is a nice color. You see, smoke is not a nice color. It is unpleasant. While electricity, I like the color, I like blue lights. It's not that it's blue light. It's no, you see, I like blue lights. Blue lights is electricity, you see. Note, it's like it's not standard like orange lights, or something like that. There's a reason it's blue lights. So, now, we have this issue of the liberals have what they said about COVID wrong, what they said about men and all the males doing all the attacking and the struggle snuggling and the raping and the grabbing and the wrong. It turns out it's this very small part of society. Oh, Antifa are these really great people standing up against these armies of Nazis that are going to show up and do things to wrong. Every single thing wrong. Beautifully wrong, with double wrong power. and the best is now, because men aren't getting married, the fact that it's like, oh, well, no, you're totally wrong. And it's like, how could you say that? Because you're not my woman. Because, these are men now that they probably have no problem being like, no, Mom, you're wrong. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No, Mom, you vote Democratic. You can't, you won't think right. I don't know. It's probably because you're a woman, Mom. I love you, but, hey, I used to shit my diapers. You still love me. I can love you even though you don't seem to have very high informational literacy. That's what love is. That's what familial love is for, is that you're dumb as hell, but I still love you because you're family. It's like, it's so the idea of I'll let you know if you fuck up. I'm gonna kind of have to let you drown a little. I'll have to let you worry about drowning just a bit, just in case. Just so you learn the lesson and you figure out like, I guess my idea did almost cause me to drown. Like California is now, where they're drowning. New York City is drowning. Chicago is drowning. Now you all have the sanctuary cities you wanted. Remember, he still hasn't sent busloads of people to Portland, from what I know. From what I know, Portland has not gotten direct busloads. They've gotten secondary busloads that are coming in from other parts of the country. People don't. That's one of those stories that you see. Who even knows if it's being reported? Who even knows if it's being reported outside of the right wing? And with the right wing just simply citing somebody who was like, these people are being sent here from like Iowa and the Midwest and blah blah blah, because those are states where they're like, no, you can't be here. You're illegal. We're gonna lock you up. You could go to these other places, but as soon as you try to camp out somewhere, whatever, you're gonna be homeless as hell in the frozen Midwest. And so. Nobody's going to really help you. It's just, sorry, that stuff like that. See, the right is listening to everybody. So they're listening to the homeless activist who's saying, no, they're sending illegal immigrants and they're just not saying anything about it to hear, and blah, 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 blah. That's the whole thing. That we're willing to can we confirm this? Is it? And they'll try to show the receipts, because really they're trying to alert their own to corruption. The problem is when you're supervillains, what your motivation is shows through your action, and you're comedically supervillainous. This is truly Skeletor. This is really Mugatu in absolutely like just RuPaul Mugatu mishmash supervillain, with some kind of dashiki-ish kind of thing that he throws together every once in a while and puts like dreadlocks on or something like that. Because that's the kind of supervillainy that it's gotten to. Social media keeps showing that there's this fundamental concept of being the supervillain who even admits what they're doing and then laughs. Like, oh, it would be a shame if they knew that I was sending minors all these, instructions on how to make bathtub estrogen and shit like that. And we're like, are you serious? Like, are you really saying this on Twitter? Remember, BLM loved posting that they obviously were going to have a riot. It was open. They would have pictures of people throwing Molotov cocktails. So it was obvious what was really up. And then what happened? There was a fucking riot. So you did those things. All anyone can say about the right is January 6th, and we have still, now it's completely, the United States Congress, the elected officials of Congress cannot get the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, and Department of Homeland Security to cough up information on what officers, how many, what were they even doing, and then, how, and trying to get some kind of understanding of if the administration had said that they needed troops, why didn't you guys do that, but instead dispatched all these secret police? This is the methodology of supervillains. And the glee in supervillainy won't matter. It just won't, because you can't keep it up. The supervillains aren't real. they're not really real. Heroes are. That's the beauty of it. All supervillains are doing is depending upon what is bad about humans and getting people to do those bad things, but to kind of give them this idea they're doing it for the glory of Cobra. Or, for, what was it? Oh God, what was that guy? There's Dr. Claw. Destro had quite the following, but there was, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, and it's going to come to me. It was this thing, the Bionic Six, the Scarab. That was it. Professor or like Dr. Scarab. And Dr. Scarab he had all this assembly of super villainous, like freakish bionic characters that would say "Hail Scarab" when they would finally reveal themselves and then do something really evil. And they had to be stopped by this band of adopted youngsters who, because of an accident, had to be bionicized. The Bionic Six, and their parents and the adopted parents, and it was very wholesome. It was a very wonderful cartoon that had heroes versus the obviously distorted and demented supervillains, and now Star Wars, under cultural Marxist, woke, whatever you want to call it, it's cultural Marxism. They're exploring how the villain can actually be the good guy. These Jedis, they just want people to not live in chaos. The Sith now and then just sap all the life from a planet for a dark ritual. I mean, some Sith are not like going to sap all of the life from a planet for a dark ritual. Come on. So it really just shows there's almost nothing that the liberals really have now where they could say, see this great thing we did. And now there's more and more things that even people on the right were like, oh, come on, dude, come on. Like especially to the world of the red-pilled manosphere MGTOW kind of dudes, that there was one guy and he loves taking a bite out of the right. He loves like just being like, I reach into your heart and squeeze out the hope. I'll call him the Monkey King, just so, because maybe saying his name might get me banned and I'd have the robots fuck with me, the algorithm, as Jim likes to say. And so he really pointed out like something that say a lot of guys who are right of center libertarian types, they're like, I don't know about that, buddy. That's kind of taking it out there. Then he would come with a huge amount of data. We'd be like, fuck. Oh God. And people learn very quickly, do not underestimate him. Like, don't underestimate the amount of research this guy has fucking done and the claims he makes. He doesn't make wild claims. And so one of these really got into, he's like, guys, there's no way that they can actually be paying their way in society as a whole. He's like whole groups of people. And he really got into like just a lot of uncomfortable data on like what it costs to educate people, and then like, okay, so think about this, you're paying back into the system in this tax bracket, you have this many years that you'd be paying, These are the people who are actually paying for society to run. And one of the key things he started to really make people understand is we have to work to keep the women and children alive. That's it. It really is. It's a burden that is a part of the order of things. This was really something that the MGTOW world had to come to, that this is the duty. That's the idea of duty. They will not be able to support the women and children and the elderly cannot make it without young men. It can't be done. And we're living in a pretend kind of era. And even now, low key, it's, oh, the army ads now have white men in them. Now they're back to white men doing what white men can do, and that's anything. Where there's a will, there's a way, and so yeah, and there's not really a way around this now. It's the necessity will make the ugly truth come through. The Constitution does not allow for DEI to even exist. It's called racism. That science, the definitives of science say that there's no such thing. There's only heterosexuals, and anything else is either some kind of disorder or it's volition. There's not a way around these things. It's by definitives of biology. There's genomics is starting to tell us, well, no, when you have a generation of women pick either Pookie or Ray Ray, or they switch back and forth every once in a while, and then have, just cities full of bastards, what you end up getting is dysgenics. You end up getting, you won't have these, what was there during Reconstruction. You won't have the black bankers of the late 1800s. Google it. Just Google it. You won't have people that strong and willful. No, you'll have what you have now. The young men who you fear, and that's not how it's supposed to work. And so it really is now this issue of that supervillains. There was this gleeful joy. You're like sticking it to the patriarchy, where you're just being bigots against men. You're sticking it to the whatever the race hierarchy as you see it is. So you've tied the Democratic Party openly to discrimination against Asians. Like that party is now, that's an official part of the way that they'll hire lawyers. Oh, thanks. They'll hire lawyers to try to keep discrimination against Asians going. They actually, that Democrats and Democratic journalists, the left-wing journalists, which that's kind of like saying the same thing twice, left-winger with a keyboard, that they as well, that it's considered what they should do to actually, that they should write about race politics such that it's okay to discriminate against Asians outright. Because this is some kind of justice. This is some form of justice somewhere. Growing up around Asian people all my life, I don't understand that, but apparently it's justice now. So it's supervillainy. You're these supervillains that can't be and you can't be questioned. The data doesn't matter. So it really is sort of that now it's this thing of only so many people. There's only so many people in Scarab's organization. There's only and people. There will be somebody who has some bionic power, and then it turns out, oh my gosh, like. He encounters Scarab, and Scarab turns him against the heroes, but only for this person to find out Scarab was no good, at the last moment. And then they turn on Scarab, strike him down, foil his plans, Destro is foiled again, Cobra Commanders running off with Tomax and Zaymot, Chameleon. That's a good one. The chameleon supervillain. That's always the Palpatine. the Emperor Palpatine type of character. You guys really like that one. So yeah, this was just something I was rolling over in my head about this. And then the more you're consistently to the left of center, like really consistent, the more you come across like that as a group. Like, oh, they're really villainous. You know, just saying.